Hi, my name is Miles Himmerich, and I'm diagnosed with FASD, Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder. Living with FASD is not the easiest thing. There's a lot of things that I've faced in my life, and there's a lot of things that I'll continue facing in my life. FASD is a lifelong disability. FASD is brain injury. It also affects my bones, my muscles, my tissues, everything in my body. So I'm constantly facing things, whether it's facing issues trying to remember things that I have to do day to day, things like eating, whether it's having problems walking down the street because my bones and my legs hurt, whether it's remembering to pay bills because of that routine and that repetition of trying to do those things and not always remembering how to do them. Those are just some of the things that I face, and I'll always face. As successful as I've been in my life, and I've been very successful, I also understand that there are things that are struggles for me. Understanding that there are things that are struggles for me and being okay with that has helped me get to a point where I've been able to be successful with my life. You see, I have to understand that I'm gonna have struggles, that I'm gonna have tough days. I'm human like everybody else. There's gonna be things that I can't do. You see, living with a brain injury, it made going to school and going into the work field very difficult. I couldn't remember how to do the work, but then there were days that I could do the work. There were times where I was doing fine in school. I would be able to do the math and remember how to solve all the problems. And it looked like I got it. It looked like I understood it. Then the next day, I couldn't remember the first step to solving the problem. My teachers would be frustrated, my parents would be frustrated because they'd look at it and go, "You just did this yesterday and you totally got it. We know you can do it." But as frustrated as they were, can you imagine how frustrating it was for me? How frustrating it was to think to myself, I just did this. Why can't I do it now? Every single day, there was something that I had to face. It became very difficult. Got to a point where I felt like going to school every day, I was going to this place and just banging my head on the wall, not getting anywhere, not having these successes that everyone else around me looked like they were having. Then I leave school and I think, okay, well, all those problems are gone, but they weren't. You see, now I have to go into society and get a job. And just like school, I couldn't remember the steps that I had to do at that job. Even though quite often they were the same steps every day. Some days I'd be able to do them, and then other days I wouldn't. And my boss, my manager, my supervisor would look at me and say the same thing the teacher said. "You just did it yesterday. We saw you do it. We know you can do it. Come on. You're just not trying. You showed up on time 3-4 days in a row. You're late now 3-4 days in a row. You're being lazy." It was difficult because here I was seen as someone that wasn't trying, someone that was lazy. All those names that people were putting on me, I was taking them in my own head and adding to them. I was hearing I was lazy. I was hearing I wasn't trying. And I was telling myself, you're stupid, you're dumb. It's difficult to wake up every day knowing that you're going to struggle, knowing that there's a good chance today something is just not going to work. As I became older, I started realizing that it wasn't just things like memory that I was struggling with. It wasn't things like being on time that I was struggling with. I was starting to struggle with physical things. My legs started hurting. Here I was 12, 13 years old, and I'd have to call my dad to come pick me up because I went on a bike ride and my legs are too sore and tired to come back home. It felt like my joints just weren't connecting. My bones and my muscles hurt, and I didn't really understand how to explain this. You see, this past year in April of 2016, I was very fortunate to work with 2 other colleagues who they themselves also live with FASD. and we shared this health survey. This was a health survey that we created about the physical issues of FASD. Some of the numbers that came back were absolutely amazing. The general population numbers compared to the numbers of us individuals living with FASD and the differences were unreal. There were things like dementia. We asked about that. Now this is something that you think is for people who become older. You know, they get dementia and they have problems with their memory. In our population on the survey, now these were people that were the average age of 28 years old with a diagnosis of FASD reporting having dementia. 28, 29, 30 years old. In general population, fairly low number reporting dementia. In our population of FASD, extremely, extremely high percentage. Over 100 times higher percent in our field of, or in our population of FASD of people struggling with hearing loss as a child. If you can't hear properly, but you don't know how to explain that because you're a child, how does that look? Oh, you're just not listening. You're not paying attention. You're not trying. How did it look as a teenager who, oh, come on. You went all the way out there, you biked out there, you're playing in the playground, you're fine to walk from this class to the next class. Stop being lazy. You see, FASD affects the whole body. Affects you for a lifetime. It's a brain injury. FASD is something that's very, very difficult to live with, very, very difficult to understand. I've had FASD since birth, and I'll have it my whole entire life. People don't always understand that. They'll see that I'm doing okay and that I'm succeeding and some days are good. And they don't realize that I still need you there, even when they're good days, because those good days are going to turn into bad days. That's just the reality of it, that I will struggle. But if you can stick beside me and stay there and support me on the good days and the bad days, then it'll be a lot easier to get through those bad days.